I don't know. Cleaver's dreaming.
I'm dreaming about what?
He's dreaming up a story.
You're telling me that's not true?
Yeah, sometimes that's not true.
Yeah, the truth's not in you.
Huh? No, but I don't know.
That covers wasn't taken off?
Then I don't know. I know when the covers were taken off.
What time were they taken off?
I don't know what time.
Well, I'm telling you, 20 minutes to 10 in the morning.
Regardless of Florida's vote.
That changed. Look, I ain't saying we would have won the game, but we wouldn't have lost it.
Hey, St. George Summers was so much a better team than St. George.
What did I just say? We would. So anyhow.
I'm a St. Georgian, through and through. I grew up in flats, but I was born in St. George's, not too far from the club. And Wellington Oval was always my playground with all the other youngsters. And during that period of time, I saw some great players, and I vowed one day I want to be one of those players.
At a very, very young age, I'm talking about when I was about 7 years of age, my family moved down to the Navy field, upstairs of that house that is dilapidated there on the corner. That's when Somerset Cricket Club was downstairs.
As a youngster, I spent most of my time running around the cricket field. And one of the favorite things I liked to do at that time was there was a wicketkeeper by the name of Buster Smith. And I used to stand behind him as sort of like, you might say, a second wicketkeeper. What he would do, every so often, he would deliberately miss a ball and say, now well, this one's for you.
I took up every sport you could think of coming up as a child. Cricket was probably the last sport that I actually tried, and it was the easiest to stick for me. So I think naturally I might have been gifted for it, or naturally I just was drawn towards it, but cricket out of all these sports, because I tried every sport you could think of, but cricket more than anything, I really took to it, I wanted to do it, and I was good at it.
It's an honor to play in cup match. Any young man wanted to play cup match. It's an honor.
When I was growing up in Somerset as a kid, one of the things that we used to like to do when this cup match team was playing, we'd go down, we'd watch them training, and then we'd love to go down and get on the pitch, you know, where they had just been on, and we would mock players. And he mentioned Sheridan Rana. Sheridan's a player I used to mock. Sheridan used to spin his bat when he first started playing. He'd bat, and then before he hit the ball, he would spin his bat and play the ball.
Cricket is in my blood. My grandfather played. He was one of the founders of this Somerset Cricket Club. My grandfather played cup match, the first cup match. He captained second cup match. Cup match was an occasion. It's a camaraderie between families, east, west, people getting together, people dressed up. Now they're dressing down.
I love it because, like I say, you know, first week of July, it's like cup match comes into the flavor, especially in the East End. You know, you go into the town of St. George, you see the ribbons up, and the shops are all decorated, and you know, everybody has stuff blue and blue on. And like I say, the month of July is cup match month.
My favorite part about cup match is just the historical significance behind it. You know, I didn't really learn all those facts until I started playing, because I felt that I needed to understand why I'm doing this. So, and the fact that we do it all, and it's the whole weekend. You know, you play the cricket on the Thursday and Friday, you get the Saturday and the Sunday. Some people take the Monday as well, you know.
Cup matches, to me, is everything. I mean, this time of the year, I get sort of happy. I miss it, to tell you the truth. I miss it. That's why I always attend.
It was out of St. George's. Somerset Then I went in to bat. They were a bit of a bind. I think it was about 5 wickets down for about 60 runs. St. George's was all, the players and the fans were all excited to say, it looks like we got 'em on the run. And I can tell you, my feeling at that time was I was capitals M-A-D, mad as hell.
Man, I'll tell you, when I took my guard, I was saying, Dennis Wainwright was saying all kinds of things to me. I won't repeat what he was saying. But, you know, and I was just so nervous. It was incredible. And I took my guard, and then when I looked up, Kenny Poole started to run in, and it was just one blare. I didn't see anything. It was just a blare to me. And all I remember is my stumps going down. And then, the thing is, I was the last man in. So that means everybody was running onto the field. There's one time I hoped for a hole in the ground, so I could have just gone down into that ground.
My first game was played in St. George's. I opened up. I made 38 runs, and I was just a little bit disappointed that I didn't go on and make more. Evidently, that was my highest score in all the cup matches that I played.
When I made 42 not out in the first innings, when St. George's was in trouble, and I came to bat and had to face one of our fiercest bowlers, the late Charlie Dauphin, who was the open bowler for Somerset at the time. And you can imagine me as a youngster, still in high school, being on a concrete wicket, facing a man like Charlie Dauphin.
Charlie Dauphin. He had to move him early. If you don't move them early, they will be trouble for you. This fellas are stubborn. They stay around all day. Build their innings.
A guy by the name of Sam Baker, he's going to hit you all over the place. As long as he stayed there, he's going to make one runs for St. George's. That was his intent. That was his makeup. I don't think he could change that even if he wanted to.
Especially a guy named Colin Blades, you know. He was a great batsman for Somerset, you know. To see him back in the pavilion was good to see.
There's actually two. OJ and Lionel Cam would have been the other one. Those are two guys that are just nuisances. You know, other guys that you know could bat, you know that they're going to give chances, you know that things. But with those two, it's like when they choose to bet on that certain day, they're hard to get out and they're frustrated.
Sheridan Rayner, because when he came to the wicket, you knew he came prepared to stay there, and he demonstrated by his patience and performance. And usually did stick around for a while. So he was one man that we, you know, was glad to see his backside when he got out.
You know, people like Lloyd James. I mean, Lloyd James was like a mountain when he came in. You know, building to Lloyd James, you wonder, how the hell am I going to get this man out? You know, he's such a big man, you couldn't see the wickets. Not only that, but he knew what to do with the bat. And he was one of our best. Bummy was the first catch I ever took in cup match too. Was Bummy in 1963. I was in slips. I'll never forget that, how exciting that was. Can you imagine? You're in slips. Bummy Summers is batting, and Charles Dauphin was bowling. And I'm a young 18-year-old boy. You know, here's this ball coming to me. Unbelievable, man. The excitement that I had to catch out Bummy Simons. You know, the captain of St. George. He was the big man.
It was 1964 when he came off the field, and everybody thought this is a draw match. So we came in the dressing room, and I still remember Cal Bummy Simons' voice. Gentlemen, we are going to win this match. I forget who was at the wicket when I went out. However, they got out soon after I was out there. And Bummy Simons, the captain, joined me. I played the ball, and I don't think the ball was more than 2 or 3 feet from me, and Bobby was down in my crease, run up, run up. He made up his mind that we're going to run this run, and he was there. And I just jogged on, and it was the last run. That's all we needed to win the match.
My first one, 2008, it was at Somerset. I built out Clay Smith for my first wicket, and it was speculation of it being his last cup match. You know, he might have been trying to get to a ball. It was some milestone he might have been trying to get, and I just remember I built him, and then I went crazy. And that was probably that's the biggest moment that stands out for me. And when I ran up to Bill for the first time, it must have felt like I had to run 100 yards. It's like these stumps never got there. But that's probably my first one's definitely my most vivid memory. Sure.
1982 was my first year as captain, and I didn't have the cup then, and I gambled, and we lost, to Somerset under the leadership of John Tucker as captain of Somerset. But I told Mr. Tucker after the presentation in Somerset that I will be back. In 1983, I took my young Lions up there, and we won the game, and I brought the cup back to St. George's where it belonged. So I would never ever forget that. That was a great moment for my team, my community, and St. George's on the whole.
You're talking about like holding the cup. That was, for me, that was huge. Number one, because we had never won before. All the time I had played, we had never won. I'd never seen us win from when I started playing in '63. I played 9 years between '63 and 1980. So man, to pick that trophy up, Somerset being, that was like unbelievable. I mean, that night,
Never have feeling like that again.
oh, you never, I'm telling you, never would we feel like that again.
The fact that it represents us as black people being free, okay? That's a big thing to me. I was brought up in a family that talked about what it was to them. Of course, my parents were not slaves, but the family had been in Bermuda. I had a great-grandmother. She was a virgin from down Hope Bay. And I was told that she was a slave, and she was on her master's boat going under Somerset Bridge, and she was required to get out of the boat and go and clear under the Somerset Bridge, the stones and all like that, so the boat can get through. So, all kinds of stories that I heard, a lot of them I've forgotten, but that was one of them. So, in relation to cup match, we're talking about emancipation of the slaves, which meant a whole lot to us as a people.
When I first started to play cup match, I really had no idea of the significance of cup match. To me, it was just fun and games, which takes me to another thing about cup match. At that time, we were not taught, if you like, the history of cup match per se. I liked the game and played it, but no one really explained to me what cup match was all about. And most of the players, I guess, for lack of a better word, really couldn't care less. We were playing cricket, having fun. However, since I learned the significance of cup match, I now have a different approach and a different feeling about that whole event. There's a certain edge you have, by having a certain amount of nervousness. So, I was excited and nervous, quite frankly. They may have shown, but you feel it inside.
And we could be batting or bowling, but the first ball is very, 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 exciting, So, the pressure is on. If we're feeling, we're looking to make sure, we get that ball on the spot, whoever's taking a new ball. And if we're batting, we're looking to that our openers survive that first ball. nobody wants to get out on the first ball of cup match.
You know, you never want to miss the first ball. You always want to. And then it comes to first ball, it was nothing prettier than E-Ran,
Oh, goodness, yeah.
opening burler, and cup match.
We look forward to the first ball, to see how it's bouncing, to see how fast the guy is coming, the bowler, and their heart is racing. The eye is probably as big as Bungus if you're batting. You see, when I was wicketkeeper, I used to see the first ball coming at me from my opening bowler. For cheese he used, we used to help him when he was going to bat to put on his pads because he was so nervous. You see? But that nervousness brought out the best in some guys.
The adrenaline was really pumping. You know you got a good team. You know you've been training hard. You know everybody is prepared for this match. There was no guessing. Everybody was ready. So that helped to relieve a lot of the pressure.
I think it takes a lot of patience in terms of everything that you need to do before you even get to the game itself. That was the thing I learned my first year, where it was you become your cup match captain all year round, but your cup match work starts probably July 1st. I think you have to have a certain mental strength for it, because I think every decision you make is going to get scrutinized by one person or another, whether it's on the field or off. So I think those are two things, and I just think you have to enjoy it. I don't think it's something that you could do unless you actually enjoy the jobs that come with it.
Quite frankly, I had to give very little pep talks. I was fortunate that the rest of my 10 men were all leaders themselves, and all of them were capable of running the team, quite frankly. So I had to give very, very little instructions to them because they just automatically fell in place, which made my job very easy.
To give you an idea, that young, when I went to St. George's, at that time we used to take a stick and we used to decorate it with the colors on it. 2 to 3 weeks before cup match, I used to go down on the train, like I said before. I refused to cover up my stick. I was going to St. George's, where it was our enemy. And I got off that train and I walked with my red and blue on my stick all the way down to my grandparents, and I wouldn't speak to any St. Georgians. I'm just giving you a little idea as a youngster. That's what it was, the rivalry between and the pride.
I think the rivalry and the competitiveness is all taken with a mixture of good nature, yeah. Because you play the game on the field. After the game, the man went to the bar and got refreshed.
You know what? Cup match is more a friendly rivalry than a fighting rivalry, so to speak. I mean, when we go out, on that field, we don't take any prisoners whatsoever. But it's always the great thing I like about cup match is that when you come out for those 2 days, Bermuda divides into 2, red and blue or blue and blue. And households the same way, divide into 2, many, blue and blue and red and blue. Even people getting married now, people don't change who they were for. But it's, dating all the way back, that's been an exciting rivalry between Somerset and St. George's.
Somerset held the cup for the last 8 years. They put a lot of heavy defeats on St. George, which I got to go back to school.
lot of people talk about Bummy and how Bummy's a tough guy and all that, yes, and he's, you know, to me, a great leader as well. But one of the things is that when I became captain in 1968, and I came down and I played, I remember after Cup match, spending Saturday, the Saturday after Cup match on the beach at Bermuda and the Beach Club, where he talked to me about the game and how I did as a captain, and helped me big time in terms of how I could be a better captain in the game. So it wasn't only that, you know, he didn't just win, but he also shared with me, you know, knowledge. And I always want to, I've said it in other places, but I think it's important to know that even though when we went out on the field, hey, you know, hey, Bummy Summers, I'm here to, you know, to beat up on your team or whatever. But at the end of it all, we're about supporting each other. We want to see good cricket.
Cup match is basically considered to be a gentleman's game. You know, we wear white attire, and we are supposed to conduct ourselves as gentlemen on the field per se. It's a game of a lot of skill, and patience, and endurance, and it's also a very much a team effort. And for instance, you get one man might excel. However, he always has the support of his teammates.
People are paid to see you play, so you be your best. Be your best on and off the field. Be a cricketer. As I always say, and I always like to end with this, there's a difference between a cricketer and a cricket player. A cricket player, and he plays the game. A cricketer is a gentleman on and off the field.
See what he says? The year before, they was off before the sun came up. Really the wicket. That's why we couldn't get him out for a long time.